truth.
No chaser.
Welcome to Truth No Chaser. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Jay.
And I'm Frank.
And this is a shot of truth stirred with bold opinions, reversing the miseducation of the black community as it relates to health, politics, and cultural identity.
Yes, sir. And speaking of politics, we're going to give our little update this week on what's been going on in the election campaign thus far. We're going to keep doing this until
the election.
Y'all pick somebody. Yeah, so one thing I'm going to start it off. One thing that we did dive into last week, and that's Joe Biden's age, appearance, the way he's maneuvering and stuff like that. I was thinking about it. I'm still teetering, right? Because I am among the citizens who is trying to keep his interests in this campaign. Right. I'm gonna be honest with you, and because I'm at a lesser of the two evils standpoint with it, and I was thinking about doubling down on my take last week on his age and stuff like that. You had Congresswoman Maxine Waters come out and say like, listen, y'all need to stop fucking with Joe Biden's age. I'm older than him. Which y'all talking shit about me, But
stole the show last week.
She did.
She's fixing her hair and stuff.
She did
everything. She stole the show last week. Everything.
She's hilarious. But the thing is, she mentioned just being of sound mind. Right. Everybody, let's think of that. Right. That's the problem, Maxine. We ain't talking about you. You understand what I'm saying? Like you are a person that clearly exercise. You clearly, keep yourself. You got your health in check. But as far as Joe Biden is concerned, people do have a right to show concern. I'm one of those people. I mean, I still, be that as it may, qualified and everything. I definitely more qualified than Donald Trump, right? And I trust him more than Donald Trump. But again, it is a little bit concerning. I don't want to say senile, because he ain't that, right? But sometimes little emotions, could kind of, like, Joe, are you awake? Hello.
Well, see, what's crazy is you're not the only one that thinks that, though, right? Because you have actor George Clooney. Big Democratic supporter, and also mega donor. And recently he ran into President Joe Biden, my apologies, at a fundraiser, and even he has his suspicions. He has his concerns because he said he's diminishing from who he knew years ago to how he looks now. Okay. So he's concerned, right? Yeah. Not the only one. Then you got Senator, Representative, out of Vermont. But George, speaking of George Clooney, he is backing out almost of a lot of his. He's asking President Joe Biden to step aside, pretty much. Okay, I thought he pulled it. Didn't he pull some of his donations then? No, and that has not come. Okay. But I know he is saying he's suggesting or hinting, we should say, that Biden might want to step aside. Gotcha. Yeah, and not the only one, as I just said, not the only one that's doing that. Yeah.
So a part of the reason why the Democratic Party is slow to do that is because there's no recovery from that. Right. When you say the lesser of two evils, you pretty much give over to one evil. Statistically, the party's at a strong disadvantage if they do have to tote up a new candidate at this point. That's number one. Number two, election analysts have kind of stepped back and went over the initial emotional response of everyone, like, oh my God, this was all triggered by his debate performance and other things, let's be clear. But focusing on the debate, what they learned is they said here in recent, more modern election times, who wins the debate hasn't proven anything for the actual winning of the election. The most recent example is Hillary Clinton, who absolutely spanked Donald Trump in all three debates and went into election night with polls up, showing her to win by a landslide, and ended up losing. Yeah, she didn't run through the tape at all. She was right. But I got you. Yeah. Right. So but not just that's just the most recent example with debates not having much of an impact on the election. Now, The other thing is that we have what the Democratic Party has to do is what you see in strategically Maxine Waters has done, right? What they're having to do more, we've seen Maxine Waters step up. We've seen Kamala Harris step up, of course. We've seen Jasmine Crockett step up and a slew of others. They're having to run as a party, right? So it goes back to your initial issue is what they're trying to focus it back on. When you say, I've almost lost interest as a voter in this campaign, are you losing interest in the people or are you losing interest in the issues? Right?
Yeah,
because
that's it.
I can't speak for everybody. We all have different things that are important to us or not, right?
Absolutely.
But we all have some core issues that are important to us. And one of these two gentlemen are going to be the head of the executive branch over these issues that concern you, whether they be the economy, whether they be inflation, whether it be foreign policy, whether it be domestic policy, whether it be women rights and the abortion issues, whether it be the taxes, the taxation of the high income earners and the wealthy. Somebody, there's some issues in there, whether it be about education reform, whether it be about whether or not they repeal the Affordable Health Care Act or try to repeal elements of it. Somewhere in there, something of that we find that important, and they are polarized on all of those issues. Each candidate is one side of the pen or the other. So while the people might be a lesser of two evils, the issue and where that person stands in their party stands ought to be really important.
So how Joe is getting around shouldn't be as much of a concern. So basically, what Jay said, everybody, is the focus should be the motion, not the movement.
right.
Ooh.
Well, he ain't got motion, but yeah, now in all fairness, right? That's why I said the Democrats are having to step up and run as a party and refocus everyone about the issues, because that'll prepare them for the counterpunch that could come from, that's likely to come from the Republicans, which would be, or at least should be, is all right. Well, if President Biden's physical abilities do diminish, then that means inevitably the vice president will step in place. And how do you want her as a president? Right. Which now she has to glow up in popularity, right? We've got a lot of people who aren't happy with her on both sides of the fence. Really, not for many fundamental political reasons. Right, you got some people on the Republican side. I mean, she's the vice president. The people are like, what does the vice president do? No vice president in history has ever had to do anything, the role that required anything. So asking, what does the vice president do? That applies to all of them in history. Right. All right. Right. So there's number one. Right. Number two, then there's a lot of people that are like, they didn't like how she, there's a lot of minority folks. There's a lot of black folks. This is a podcast for black people. She locked up people in California. No, she didn't. She was a prosecutor. Right. They had to commit the crime, then come to court, and then she prosecuted them. And then California had structured sentencing. The laws of California, the California legislature already decided what time they got, Right. But people don't know these things, right? So they just say she locked up people in California. Right. And then, there's folks who don't believe, well, she ain't black, she ain't one of us. Well, she had a super black experience at some point, whether she was black or not. But black or not, at the end of the day, if you're a woman, where does she stand on the questions or the issues that you have with decisions over your womb? If you are a American citizen who works a job and is supporting a family, where does she stand on the issues of the economy and controlling how you can get more dollars in your pocket or not? If you are, in the military, sending people in the military, or have a foothold in foreign policy, where if you have family in Iran, where does she stand on how we deal with Iran and their sanction breaking with what's going on with Hamas?
I don't want people. I had this conversation with a coworker of mine, who thinks that it might be a slam dunk if Biden was to step aside and Kamala would have run and stuff like that. Not really, because of what you just said. There are, to be honest with you, there are a lot of, from the middle of this country, there are a lot of women who do not like Kamala Harris. You understand what I'm saying? And there are women that just don't like
Women in power.
figures. Yeah,
Women in
you know
power.
what I'm saying? Like, you know, in general, you know, so it's not as much of a slam dunk as you would think it would be. You would think
Right.
the people would be ecstatic to have not only the first woman, but to be a sister as well. You know what I'm saying?
you have. Yeah, her first issue is that she's a woman. Not that that's a real issue, but that's an issue for a lot of people.
Right.
They don't want a woman to be president. They won't say it out loud, but they will say it at the polls.
Mm-hmm.
The second issue, and that's why with Hillary Clinton running such a great race, was strong. The second issue is she ain't white.
Right.
So you'll have a lot of white folks who have a problem with that, and you have a lot of black folks who will question anybody that ain't white.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's be clear, there are a lot of black people who find themselves being woke, questioning anything that's a black movement.
Right.
Y'all all up on that, like,
and it's like it's stupid rhetoric, man. It's like this very uneducated. If we pick a woman president, you know, this country will go to shit. Well, has this country not gone to shit without ever having a woman president before? You understand what I'm saying? We
Right.
none of them were women, and this country's been to shit
Several times.
Yeah,
I mean, look who our last president was prior to Joseph Biden.
yeah. Right.
Like, he's literally the first president. I mean,
Yeah.
are you serious?
Yeah.
I mean, she's the mark of what's going to go to shit.
Right.
Like, that's our, she, of all things, she's our reference point,
Right.
dog. You think you might be just a little bit jaded, you know?
Yeah.
So the issue with why the Democratic Party is also sticking with him is that even if Kamala were a white male, you now have a very short time to get rally behind that
To
person.
back you.
Okay. Yeah.
And rally behind that person to overcome what the other person is bringing. Okay, because what Trump has been able to do, the second piece of information we'll show you for me is that he's been able to mobilize the Republican Party. One thing about the Republican Party is they know Trump ain't shit. Okay,
Right.
that's why they tried to serve him up to the Democrats. They was like, yo, he's out of here now, so we kind of might not have to deal with him. Oh, everybody that backed him lost the midterm elections. Here, Democrats, now you can prosecute him and we won't stand in your way. Here, Fonnie Willis, go and do your thing, right?
Yeah.
And then this mug recharged everybody and became a viable candidate again, right? So you have some Republicans that are like, yeah, my guy's back. You got a lot of Republicans that are like, this.
He just won't go away.
All right, this is what we doing. Boom, and they behind him,
behind
strong.
him. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you know that's the thing. What the guy said, the election predictor said, and I loved it. He said the problem is in this country with this two-party system, the Republicans, God, I can't remember what he said. They have no principles, and the Democrats are spineless. Democrats ain't tough enough, and the Republicans are willing to give you a liar as a president.
Accurate.
Wow.
They were willing to give you Sarah Palin as a vice president who could be president if something happened to them, knowing that she didn't know a damn thing. They were okay with that because they don't have any principles. They just wanted to win.
Yeah.
This is what they do.
Yeah.
And the Democrats are too spineless to call out moves in the election. I mean, this was Democratic nature, not just Joseph Biden in that last debate. He had Trump dead in the rights on abortion. He had him dead in the rights on foreign policy. He had him dead in the rights on food. And that becomes the issue. Was that age, or was that Democrats, was that bad strategy? A lot of it was bad strategy, but why didn't you serve him up when you had him cornered?
Got him. Yeah.
On some very, very pivotal issues.
Right.
You didn't slam dunk there.
Yeah.
And then finally, update, you know, the economy has been running strong in the market a little bit, and people are still feeling the effects of inflation, but that kind of gets to go out of the window a little bit when people are stacking their 401ks and they're checking their investment accounts, and they're like, oh, we're having some record highs right here, still amongst inflation. So, you know, to be clear on something, and that's a big issue because Trump had some policies that, while he'd like to say he handed over, he said, I handed over a great economy with this guy, and he caused inflation. So yes, you handed him something, but you handed him a set of problems that don't come into fruition until later.
Right.
It's like saying I gave this guy a perfect garden, but there was weeds planted in the soil. It looked perfect at the time you gave it to him, but there was weeds in the soil. And now that they've come up, they didn't grow up overnight. They can't. They don't have the power to do that. So what happened here is, and I'll very lightly touch on inflation, right? We were in the pandemic, 2020, right? Everybody was indoors. Nobody could spend any money anywhere. When money isn't moving, that's what causes a recession. Money's got to get. That's why when there was like a threat of recession, the government's always like, here goes some stimulus checks so that you can go spend, and that helps stimulate the economy. That's why we had 3 stimulus checks sent out during the pandemic and PPP loans and all that other stuff. They needed money to be spent, right? So then everybody's back out. Things are open again. People are shopping, they're traveling, they're just that and the third. They've got all this money that they were built up. A lot of people were working 2 and 3 jobs from home. So they had extra cash. When people have extra cash, they go spend it. When people spend, if you make stuff, right? If you make the stuff that people want to buy and now they are buying, well, you got to make more stuff.
Right.
I mean, you got to hire more people. But Frank, you got to hire more people too. So you got to make your jobs more attractive. You got to pay them more. You got to give them better benefits. The cost of production has got to be better. All these things now cause the price of your goods to raise.
Yesterday's price is not today's
It
price.
can't be. It can't be. It can't be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now the prices have got to raise.
Right.
And now, because I have more money in my pocket, I can still afford it. Right. Now we talk about general inflation, not baskets of goods, this, that, and the third, because now there's so much more money in circulation. Well, if you cut taxes for the people who have more money than everybody else, now that's less tax dollars going out. And if you cut taxes for the corporations, that's even more money that's now in circulation, which keeps the prices high. Right? Because now there's more available money to spend. That's why everybody's getting raises, right? That's why everybody's getting higher paying jobs and whatnot, because it's like, oh, we need you. Companies are now having trouble finding workers. When we're in a recession, it's like, dog, we ain't got no work for you. Now it's like, yo, we got work for you. You know what I mean? So I saw somebody post on social media, they said, it's not inflation when companies are raking in record profits. Actually, it is. Because that means people are buying the stuff.
Yeah.
People are buying the stuff that actually has to sell because we got the money to buy it. And so because of that, she's making, because yesterday's price is not today's price, she's making a record profit. You know what I mean? So that major tax cut kind of helped play into things. So now these tax cuts, they're about to expire. So now it's like, you know, if whoever's coming into the presidencies, they got a decision to make, right? We pretty much know which decision Trump's gonna make, right?
Right.
Yeah. Do we keep these tax cuts in place, or do we be like, all right, guys, it's over? Somebody's gonna be pissed off, and that's going to affect the next election, right? So hopefully they can depend on what Democrats can probably, hopefully, maybe tout themselves on if the economy continues to look kind of up between now and the outlook for next year. Then maybe they can try to hang their hat on that, like, look, this is what we're turning around in another sense. So. Gotcha. Those are kind of the keys. So those are the updates that we want to deliver everybody. Any kind of closing words?
I mean, I just between now and November, just keep a keen eye on, you know, how both candidates prioritize these many issues that
right.
you know, whether your concern be your financial situation and how that's going to better in the next 4 years, pending the candidate that you vote for, or, you know, whether it be crime and violence or whatever your,
right.
you know, your what is it? I'm trying to say, your point of emphasis or your point of your focus. You know what I'm saying? You know, so I mean, I me personally, again, education. You know, might be a little, you know, that might be more important to me than, you know, taxes and stuff like that. But I can't forget about that as well.
Right,
you understand
right.
what I'm saying as far as taxes, because obviously I got to make a living too, and I got a family to provide for, things of that nature. So it does affect me. So, but we'll be keeping a close eye on all of that stuff.
Absolutely.
from now. Yeah.
I feel like as Jay always educates you guys, he educates us as well, and it's best to always do your own homework. Like preachers say in the pulpit, read the Bible for yourself and take from yourself what you need from it.
Absolutely.
Do your own homework, read up on it. Don't get caught up on the internet, the hype, all of the talking about it.
Yeah.
Just make sure you do your own homework, your own research, and go with the candidates that best suits your concerns, your issues.
There you go. Perfect.
And I will say, and finally, we wrap up this. Not only are we talking about the presidential candidates here, but we are talking the people who affect your lives most are your local residents, your city councilmen, your county commissioners.
Gotta stress that.
Your state representatives. These folks have a huge impact on your everyday life. So let's not forget those folks, and we'll be talking more about that as we go along too.
Rock the vote, y'all.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Until next time, keep walking in your truth, Black people.
Yeah.
There's that tag.